Welcome to a New Year's Day Creature Guide live stream. Let's get into some fun animal news. So, starting off with in a few seconds. Okay, here we go. The cattlesite.com going on here. After 1,000 years, the European bison is back in Switzerland. Well, this is really good to hear considering European bison are quite rare within all of Europe. So, it seems to be a healthy individual. They're much taller than North American bison, but they're not as stocky. So, European bison can reach over 6'8" or a little over 2 meters in height. The Weissenthal, Weissenth referring to the bison project brought the animals to the Thal National Park in 2022. Initial successes are evident, offspring and valuable insights for biodiversity. The European bison was extinct in Switzerland around 1,000 years ago. Oh, I didn't realize it had been that long. Um, that's interesting. The Weissenthal project aims to return Europe's largest living wild animal to the Swiss Jura Mountains, where bison were once widespread. However, not everyone was enthusiastic about this idea. In a country as densely populated as Switzerland, support such a large wild animal. They definitely have a limited amount of lard compared to the orcs. This question led the project's opponents all the way to the federal Supreme Court, which, however, gave the Weissens project the green light. You know what? In September 2022, the time had finally come. The first five bison, a 3-year-old bull, three cows, and a calf arrived in Welschneror and were placed in a 3-hectare acclimatization enclosure. After several weeks, the wild animals were allowed to move to a 50-hectare enclosure for 2 years, which was expanded to 100 hectares last September. Huh, I haven't heard of this type of a progression before. Usually it's the animals in a certain area for a few days and then released, but maybe because there's a calf involved, three cows, we don't know what their situation was beforehand, and they're just taking a slower progression to finally releasing them, which is a good thing in many instances. The bison appeared to be doing well. Five calves have now been born in the tall national or nature park. The Weissent project is being closely monitored by scientists. For example, research is being conducted to determine how much the bison graze young trees and whether they are displacing other wild animals such as deer or badgers. European bison are much more of a browser than compared to American bison, whereas American bison, it's rare for them to be munching on any species of shrubs or bushes or even different species of trees. The bison oh, wait, I already said that. Okay, so the BFHHAFL is also participating in the research in collaboration with the Department of Forest Sciences. The impact of these gentle giants on rare forest communities is being investigated. These are of particular importance for biodiversity. The Thal Nature Park is home to several such plant communities worthy of protection. For example, a yew beech forest and orchid pine forest. So, yeah, that is interesting. I mean, despite, Switzerland's rugged wilderness, especially it being um, covered in most of or part of the Alps, mountain range within Europe, wildlife conservation is actually not talked about very much within the country, which is interesting. Okay, so the BFHHAFL. This research project benefits from the fact that the bison were initially only allowed to move within half the area of their current enclosure. This allows the scientists to conduct a before and after comparison. A few weeks before the enclosure expansion, sample surveys of the vegetation were taken at 60 locations. Wow. These surveys will then be repeated at the same locations a year later. The researchers hope to find out how the bison influence the vegetation composition. Well, I was also thinking when they're taking samples of these different species of plants, they were probably taking a look at how much nutrition there was, how well they're benefiting from the ground or the soil that's already there and without the bison's help. So they're definitely going to be adding a lot more fertilizer and probably helping with overcrowding of certain species of vegetation. A study in Denmark found that the presence of bison has increased herbaceous biodiversity, with grasses in particular benefiting. However, this depends heavily on the specific forest type, making forecasts difficult. Also, in different parts of Denmark, much of the country is a series of plains, different types of wetlands. Forests aren't too abundant within the country of Denmark. In 2027, those responsible for the Weissenthal project will submit a comprehensive report on the reintroduction of the bison. Depending on the outcome, the wild animals will be released into semi freedom in a subsequent phase and ultimately into the wild. They're definitely in a larger enclosure compared to most captive bison. So, this is good to hear for Switzerland. So, let's head on to the next article. So, from CPR.org. Disease die-offs continue to ravage bighorn sheep. Advocates say feds left them high and dry on the issue. Oh boy, let's see what's going on here. So here's a female. Um, I'm guessing it could be probably not a Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, another subspecies. So let's see. The Pikeview Quarry, barely outside of the cul-de-sacs and two-car garages of the Mountain Shadows subdivision, seemed like an odd place to find one of Colorado's most intrepid species. Oh, never mind. It does seem that this is a Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep. I was thinking maybe it was from somewhere further south. Bulldozers, excavators, and dump trucks crawled the quarry's terrace slopes, putting the final touches on a mine reclamation effort that began in 2022. Despite the man made noise, Colorado Parks and Wildlife biologist Ty Woodward spotted a band of 8 bighorn sheep grazing the rusty slopes of the quarry. Even though you have the machines running around here, there's not a ton of people. The quarry, which once provided Colorado Springs with the limestone aggregates needed to make concrete, has become a surprise haven for bighorn sheep, providing the steep slopes, visibility, and food they need to survive. There's a wide range of different areas of the Rockies over in western Colorado that you have different populations of bighorn sheep. Colorado also does host one of the largest populations of bighorn sheep within North America. You can find them as about as far north as southern Canada, so over in different parts of the northern Rockies of Alberta, as well as different parts of eastern British Columbia, since British Columbia is right next to, just adjacent to Alberta. Not all of Colorado's Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep have fared this well. Experts estimate that at the start of the 19th century, between 1.5 and 2 million bighorn sheep roamed the mountains of North America. Yeah, it is highly debated with these different population estimates, especially as you travel back to the 18th and 17th century. I'm actually surprised that there were that many at that point. Today, roughly 80,000 remain the region, with just 7,000 left in Colorado. Well, I mean, they have definitely been, rebounding in population. So, um, yes, it would be nice if there were more bighorn sheep. I think and the problem is you have in some instances where elk might be competing with them for food. Hunting competition for habitat and diseases carried by domestic sheep and goats decimated the species. Although Colorado's bighorn sheep population has stabilized on paper, wildlife officials have failed to fully restore the species. Well, especially with the population, that's probably not, possible. So, I mean, yes, I would like to see much more, but rebounding it to 2,000,000, you have to take into account the other animals as well. You can't just have it where, okay, we want to restore, the complete grizzly population that was in North America, or at least in the lower 48 back in the 1600s, which is estimated to be somewhere between like 45 to 55,000 just in the just south of Canada. So that would also include northern Mexico too. Um, yeah, that can't happen in places like California, Nevada. There's just simply not enough pristine habitat, and it's too densely populated. You could probably have it in certain parts of Utah, Colorado, but it's also a lot of people. don't want to coexist with brown bears. Um,
Okay, that was funny.
yeah, I actually found it a bit shocking. Um, and it's not just coming from the ranchers; it's people even in the more urban or suburban areas as well.
Well, yeah, and what happens when you come in contact with that bear?
Yeah, at least at this point, you could be arrested for defending yourself.
Well, I also meant they could eat you.
Well, yeah, that too. So let's see what else is going on here. One of the top threats to the species is a string of respiratory diseases that infect and kill bighorn sheep. Domestic sheep and goats transmit pathogenic bacteria, most notably Mycoplasma ovipneumonia, to bighorns through nose to nose contact. Oh, yeah. That's pretty sad. While these bacteria are usually innocuous to livestock, they can rapidly develop into deadly cases of pneumonia in wild sheep.
I don't think people realize how often animals get sick.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like even bison, and they can transmit certain diseases to cattle. Especially around the greater Yellowstone area, it can be a bit of an issue with cattle ranches over there. Even certain parts of Montana, Alberta. But you have to remember, there's over also 500,000 bison within North America. Now, um, when it comes to bison and not being pure, it's only like most of the population's only about 1 to, 3% cow, because there was a like, when they had dwindled to such a small amount in the 1800s, there were certain remnants of the population that were being bred with cattle, to, like, to make them fattier and, just more beefy. That didn't really work, but, they're they're pretty close to, the pure bison, like, over in Yellowstone and, certain parts of Montana, Alberta. The problem is, genetic variety in certain areas of the pure bison. Anyway, contact between the two species happens more often than biologists would like. Bighorn sheep are often curious about their domestic cousins and frequently encounter domestic sheep on public grazing elements that overlap with their habitat. So this is basically where certain ranchers can take their cows, sheep over into different parts of national forests or Bureau of Land Management areas, national parks. Actually, I'm not sure about national parks, but definitely the other two protected areas and just graze their livestock. But also, bighorn sheep can reach a little over 300 pounds or pushing over 140 kilograms. So, at least 7 bighorn herds suffered from respiratory illnesses in 2023. Ouch! That's bad, leading some biologists to declare it the worst year in over a decade for bighorns in Colorado. In the past, disease events have wiped out entire herds, and when one band of sheep gets sick, it can be hard to prevent bighorns from infecting other herds. Sheesh. Yeah, that's really bad. There goes some of your genetics. Although scientists have long dreamed of a vaccine, no such antidote exists. The only management strategy to really protect bighorn sheep is separation between bighorn sheep and domestic sheep. Yeah, how do you do that? Such separation is easier said than done, considering bighorn rams can travel up to 60 miles in search for mates. Well, it's not just that; it's just the bighorns just coming up to the sheep and making contact. That's uh,
Or are the wild ones trying to mate with the ones that are captive?
I'm not sure. They're not too distantly related. I would think it's possible, but I don't know. State wildlife biologists and researchers who are most familiar with the threat of disease are largely powerless to enact change. Colorado parks and wildlife can manipulate hunting licenses, improve habitat, or remove bighorn sheep. But when it comes to conflicts with domestic sheep on federal grazing lands, it is up to federal agencies to make changes. Um, I don't know how that would really have much of an effect. They can just come onto private land, and that's dumb. According to Myers, the U.S. Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management, which control grazing permits, have taken a laissez-faire approach to conflicts between bighorn sheep and domestic sheep, rarely completing environmental analysis on grazing elements.
So do the bighorn sheep follow the laws or just do what they want?
Yeah, it seems like yeah, there's. That goes for pretty much every animal, except, certain ducks and geese. They'll follow pedestrian law, and then after that, they just assault everybody. In many cases, conservation hinges upon individuals and advocacy. Okay, we know. Okay, let's see. Just looking to see if there's anything else that's relevant. Okay, it's just okay. Let's see. At the base. Well, let's see. So during a recent field operation at the end of December, Woodward planned to. That's why that name was odd to me. I keep thinking of Woodward. Anyway, planned to dart and collar a bighorn ewe. That's referring to a female bighorn sheep that his team can better understand the herd's movements and behavior. At the base of the Pikeview Quarry, Woodward and his colleague Corey Adler prepared a carbon dioxide tranquilizer gun they used to dart the sheep. They must get within 25 to 30 yards for a good shot. Once sheep is tranquilized, they secure a GPS tracking collar. Location data from collars help CPW understand bighorn sheep movement and population health. When a collared sheep dies, biologists are more likely to find its body in time to collect tissue samples that scientists can study. So, although the Rampart herd is currently disease free, I'm guessing this is the one adjacent to Colorado Springs. CPW regularly monitors the population to ensure it remains healthy. Use this herd to create new herds and bolster ailing herds around the state. The herd at Pikeview Quarry descended from 14 bighorn sheep that were originally destined for Pike Peak. I think that a mountain top is adjacent to the area. In 1946, a truck carrying the sheep broke down. The drivers released the sheep near Green Mountain Falls, thinking they would make their way towards Pikes Peak. Instead, the herd colonized a series of canyons and rocky slopes above Garden of Gods. Okay, so this is the Garden of Gods is a protected area adjacent to Colorado Springs. It didn't take long for bighorn sheep to become a fixture in the area. Jerry Schnabel, the president of Castle Aggregates, which operated Pikeview Quarry, said that even rough and tough miners soon developed a soft spot for sheep. Miners with names like Dozer Dave would haul water to the top of the quarry to help the sheep survive dry spells. Sounds like something from Bob the Builder. Okay. Schnabel even found invoices for hay the miners had ordered from a local rancher to feed the bighorns. To this day, the peri-urban herd provides easy access for citizens and scientists to observe the species. Adler and Woodward piled into an off-road vehicle to make the initial ascent up the quarry on a recent research trip. Although the bighorn sheep here have grown accustomed to heavy machinery, they remain highly attuned to predators. Oh yeah, there's bound to be cougars in the area preying on them. The wolves are probably on their way. They're doing really well, and also Colorado Parks and Wildlife keeps releasing more into the state from Wyoming. Um, what's another thing? Coyotes will go after the youngsters and occasionally certain black bears within the area, and especially as you get to Rocky Mountain National Park, they are very predatory of the elk, bighorn sheep in the area. They're the black bears over in Rocky Mountain National Park, which is just west of, I believe, Fort Collins. They're the most predatory black bears in North America. So let's see, or at least one of the most. Um, okay, so this is just you can see at the base of the quarry, Brandon Fagan, a terrestrial wildlife technician, tracked the sheep through a spotting scope. Woodward grew up in Lamar, Colorado. Anything else? How long is this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Was there something here? Let's see. There's a die off in the Pikes Peak bighorn herd to an incident in 2021. Um, okay. By November, he had observed 16 ewes without lambs. Yeah, that's not good. So some pneumonia die off.
What's an ewe?
See it in their stomachs. That's a female bighorn sheep or a female sheep. You can see all their muscles contracting. It has a very distinct sound, almost like a metal can being rattled with rocks inside. Let's see. So far, Fox has analyzed just 200 of the 800 samples. Okay, so there were 800 tissue samples at the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at Colorado State University.
I thought you said for a second, so far foxes have analyzed.
Yeah, it might have sounded like that. Collected from dead bighorn sheep's lungs, respiratory tract, or tonsils. Uh, okay. For now, separation between bighorn sheep and domestic sheep and goats is the only surefire way to prevent the spread of disease. But according to Myers, more than 100 of the state's roughly 480 domestic sheep grazing allotments that are on Forest Service or BLM land, or land management, overlap with bighorn sheep herds. I would expect that. Roughly 180 more are within 9 miles of a herd. We don't have control over what people do on their private lands. Let's see. Is there anything else? No. Jeez. What? Ah, this is. Jeez. Wow. Why do I have a feeling there is no results?
I only glanced at this for you.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, let's go to the next article. The problem is this is one of those instances where you have to like force the um just caring for the sheep because an article like this makes you not want to care about them. Ah, just die. Uh, okay. Anyway, okay, from apnews.com. Endangered sea turtle population shows signs of recovery in more than half the world. Oh, that's really good to hear, especially after that bighorn sheep thing. Okay. So, endangered sea turtles show signs of recovery in a majority of places where they're found worldwide. Also, something to note is that out of the eight different species of sea turtle, there is really only one that's primarily herbivorous, feeding on different species of seagrass, and that's the green turtle or green sea turtle. All of the other species, there's a couple are somewhat omnivorous, but the rest are strictly carnivorous, so feeding on different species of jellyfish, different species of squid. They love their cephalopod diet. Many of the turtle populations have come back, though some haven't. Overall, the sea turtle story is one of the real conservation success stories. The study looked at 48 populations of sea turtles around the world. Scientists measured the impacts of threats such as hunting, pollution, coastal development, and climate change to the marine animals. In more than half the areas studied, threats are declining overall. Hmm. But there are some exceptions. Sea turtle populations in the Atlantic Ocean are more likely to be recovering than those in Pacific waters, and leatherback turtles are not faring as well as other species. Oh, well, that's unfortunate considering that is the largest species of sea turtle. They can reach over 1,700 pounds or a little over 650 kilograms. And yes, they are carnivorous, but they're just feeding on different species of squid. Globally, leatherbacks are considered vulnerable to extinction, but many groups are critically endangered. Um, vulnerable. I really don't like how this whole stable, least concern, overabundance down to critically endangered works. But there needs to be more technically if it's stating that they're vulnerable. But I mean, I've caught it where certain governments will claim that a certain population of predators, especially like cougars in some areas, is stable because there's like somewhere between 100 to 200 of them. Like, yeah, inbreeding is not far away if they're not already inbred. All seven of the regions where leatherbacks are found face high environmental risks. Leatherback turtles are famous for making the longest known marine migrations of any animal, with some individuals swimming as many as 3,700 miles or 5,955 kilometers each way. That feat moves them through a wide swath of regions and may expose them to unique risks. Meanwhile, green turtles are still considered endangered globally, but their population shows signs of recovery in many regions of the world. By ending commercial harvests and allowing them time to rebound, their populations are now doing really well. In coastal waters off many regions of Mexico and the US, um, hmm, yeah, we're still not getting a um, view into, well, I guess the nests that these turtles are creating, as well as how many sea turtle hatchlings hatch. It doesn't really form a good basis for how many there are, considering many of those get picked off immediately by sharks, seagulls, occasionally wild boars.
Well,
It's
that's what I was getting ready to ask you.
yeah, possibly like even certain bears if they're on the coast. There's a wide range of predators. That's interesting. It didn't. Well, it mentioned commercial harvest. But literally, people will just go onto the beach and take turtle eggs. Let's see. So let's see. Anything? Oh, well, that's it. Okay, so we really have no idea how they're doing. I was afraid that was going to end like that. So let's move forward. So from Sci News, early long-necked marine reptile unearthed in China. The exceptionally long neck of Lihungosaurus hongshengsis contained 42 cervical vertebrae. I believe this is referring to the neck vertebra. According to a research team led by paleontologists from the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Huh, expecting a collaboration between different countries. Well, well, well. Who do we have here? I wonder if it's a long necked species of pliosaur and not a long necked species of plesiosaur, because looking at the skull structure and even the neck structure along with the body. Wait a second. What do we have here? Look at those feet. Wait a second. Are we in the Triassic?
Or did someone AI the picture?
I don't know. It might be a drawing. Reconstruction. Nothosaurs about 240. Oh, they're nothosaurs. Okay, that wasn't hitting me. Reconstruction of nothosaurs about 240 million years ago, revealing a hidden diversity from southwestern China. The Lianghungosaurus hongshensis in the center, Nothosaurus huanguensis, and Nothosaurus lupoensis, and Revicatosaurus youngshinensis, and Mariosaurus honguensis. I'm guessing those two different species are referred to the ones on the bottom. But yes, this is a wide variety. There's a wide variety of not mosasaurs, nothosaurs in this instance. Liangsaurus hongshinensis inhabited the Middle Triassic seas between 247 and 241 million years ago. So this is still around 10 million years before the dinosaurs showed up. The ancient creature was a type of nothosaur, a clade of marine sauropteran reptiles. Nothosaurs could grow up to 7 meters or 23 feet. That's a large nothosaur. Long and swam using four paddle-like limbs. They had flattened skulls with a meshwork of slender conical teeth that were used to catch fish and squid. Sauropterygia arose as a major marine reptilian clade during the early to middle Triassic, persisting as key components of the Mesozoic marine ecosystem for approximately 180 million years. So they were probably just feeding on different species of squid, maybe different species of fish. These weren't creatures with a skull structure that were designed for taking down larger prey, or at least something that's going to put a lot of pressure on their skulls. So, most likely, these things would be practically harmless to most other marine reptiles. The early diverging sauropterygians include placodonts, yep, pachypleurosaurs, nothosaurs, and early pleistosaurs. So this is just referring to this specific group of marine reptiles, which is quite distantly related to the later pliosaurs, plesiosaurs, and um, mosasaurs of the later Mesozoic, so during the time of the dinosaurs. Plesiosaurs, a symbolic group of extinct reptiles, represent a late diverging clade from pleistosaurs within Sauropodia. The nothosaurs are equal to nothosaurians in systematic paleontology, which not only encompass the family Nothosauridae, Nothosaurus and Lariosaurus, but also other species within Nothosauridae. Despite numerous described species, nothosaurs display lower diversity at the genus level and in anatomical morphology compared to other Sauropteran subgroups. The body sizes of nothosaurs are typically larger than pachypleurosaurs, but smaller than plesiosaurs, including plesiosaurs. Oh yeah, the nothosaurs didn't reach anywhere near the size of different species of plesiosaur. The long necked plesiosaurs like um, Ankylosaurus, Elasmosaurus, there were larger species that could reach over 45 feet in length. Elasmosaurus was a bit overestimated at certain points. It reached like somewhere between 30 to 33 feet or 9, 10 meters. Now, most of the length just being its neck. Not all plesiosaurs had extremely long necks. So let's see. Um, Just want to get a look at that specific, discovery. So the fossilized skeletons of wait a second. Okay. Despite the secondary development of short necks in some later diverging plesiosaurian species, early plesiosaurs and their Triassic ancestral kin, the early plesiosaurs possess impressive elongate necks when the number of cervical vertebrae over 30 is suggested as a synapomorphy of early plesiosaurs and plesiosaurs. Following this traditional view, we consider only a neck with more than 30 cervical vertebrae as a long or elongate neck in our study. This iconic character in plesiosaurs is distinctive in secondarily marine tetrapods, when other representatives like ichthyosaurs, elatosaukians, mosasaurs, and cetaceans are all short-necked and more fish-like. That is interesting that pretty much all these other different types of marine animals, because cetaceans refer to different species of whales, um, and then you have the Thalattosaukians, ichthyosaurs, all of these being different species of marine reptiles. But for the most part, they're relatively short necked, and the plesiosaurs decide to evolve that type of a mutation. So that is quite interesting to take into account. The fossilized skeleton of Lihyangiosaurus hongshanensis was found at a previously unknown early Middle Triassic locality of the Biya Formation in China's Yunnan province near the eastern Tibetan Plateau and northern Myanmar. The site differs from the previously documented fossil rich regions in southwestern China around the boundary between Yunnan and Guizhou provinces. A lot of different species of dinosaurs, marine reptiles come from the Guizhou province. Yunnan too. Lihyangiosaurus hongshanensis represents the earliest known sauropteran reptile, evolving exceptionally long neck with 42 cervical vertebrae. Our discovery demonstrates that extreme cervical elongation, developing more than 30 cervical vertebrae, emerged in sauropterans prior to the rise of plesiosaurs and their pistosaur ancestors. Furthermore, Liangosaurus hongshensis possesses a unique type of accessory intervertebral articulation compared with other reptiles, and we attribute this structure to reducing body undulation. This discovery increases the known diversity of accessory intervertebral articulations in reptiles and underscores the high plasticity of the vertebral column in the early evolution of sauropterians. It's also good to see that this time in the Mesozoic as well as um, the Triassic that we have different marine reptiles with this many cervical or neck vertebrae. So it's really good to see. Um, okay, let's head on to the next article. DiscoverWildlife.com. 16,000 dinosaur footprints discovered in Bolivia. Well, this is really good to see. It's the largest collection ever found. Oh, okay. Well, that explains even more. I thought there were larger footprint tracks, but that's pretty unique.
16,000?
I'm guessing this is probably, small dinosaurs creating this. I wouldn't think that a sauropod herd or well, okay, even if you're looking at medium-sized dinosaurs, like different species of ornithopods possibly, so, dinosaurs related to the thumb-spiked iguanodon or the duck-billed hadrosaurs, still that seems quite a bit. Though, I mean, you could probably have certain large herds of these animals. But likely this is probably a smaller species of ornithopod. Not ceratopsian or the horned dinosaurs like Triceratops or Protoceratops because they are not found in South America. Bolivia's just south of Brazil.
There's no ceratopsians found down there?
They never reached the continent of South America. So let's take a look. Some of the footprints recorded are 30 centimeters in diameter. Okay, that's definitely not a small dinosaur. That's a foot or 12 inches. That's the size of a large frying pan. Oh, wait. Are there also footprints in the midst of this? Hmm. Okay. I wonder how large the whole area is. I mean, that's quite remarkable, though. So let's see. So it was at Carreras, Pampas, and Toro Toro National Park, Bolivia. Spectacular assemblage of footprints, which includes tracks made as the dinosaurs walked, ran, and even swam, provides a glimpse into the lives of these prehistoric animals that roamed what is now Bolivia at the end of the Cretaceous period around 66 million years ago. It's interesting. Much more attention is paid to like the Middle Cretaceous, sometimes certain parts of the Triassic. When it comes to fossils coming in from South America, usually in like Patagonia, especially Argentina, certain parts of Chile region, but Bolivia is less often talked about. Yeah, actually, even Brazil is mentioned. Times Colombia, Venezuela, also I think a bit more recently. Oh, whoa, okay, so it seems like we have different species of theropods inhabiting the area. Those are very well preserved footprints. Hmm, that's like that footprint I remember on, when dinosaurs roamed America, showing the, different early Jurassic theropods. But this is late Cretaceous. This is at the very end of the Cretaceous period, and we're seeing these footprints. Led by Raul Esperante and published in the journal Plus One, the study recorded thousands of three-toed theropod tracks across 9 areas, ranging from small prints less than 10 centimeters long to giants exceeding 30 centimeters. Um, okay, so, well, 10 centimeters, I think that's still somewhere around maybe 4 inches or so. Yeah, but 30 centimeters is about 12 inches. Theropods were a diverse group of dinosaurs that walked on 2 legs, had hollow bones, sharp claws, and three-toed teeth. Now, this is true with the theropods having hollow bones. They were just relatively or very robustly built. Like, it's made out with, um, different species of dinosaurs that were very or that had hollow bones, especially the dromaeosaurs or even the avian dinosaurs, the birds. There are a wide range of different species of birds even before today's. They were quite robust despite being hollow. The tracks capture specific moments in the dinosaurs' lives. Some show animals running at speed, others paddling through shallow water. That's quite often. I mean, that is not seen very often. Dragging their tails or making sharp turns. I wonder why they're dragging their tails. Ripple marks in the rock and the northwest southeast orientation of most of the tracks suggest the dinosaurs were moving along an ancient shoreline, while the sheer number of footprints and the way they're aligned provides evidence that many of the dinosaurs traveled in groups. But with that many, I would think so. It seems to be there's quite a few theropods running in this region, at least by the footprints that they're showing us. Um, I'm guessing it's some sort of a sauropod that made those larger footprints. Probably a medium-sized species. It might have been a sauropod like one of the Saltosaur species or a later member of the diplodocid lineage of sauropods.
Wait, weren't they saying they were swimming?
Oh, yeah, in certain other areas. Um,
Oh, I thought the dragging their tails was swimming. I'm thinking, how are they dragging their tails while they're swimming?
oh, yeah, that's what I was wondering with the dragging their tails. You might have had it where it's on a shoreline, though, unless they're fighting each other or they're trying to get a better viewpoint. You could have had it where sauropods were rearing up on their hind legs and their tails were dragging, but aside from that, I'm not sure why. It's like a theropod's pulling a carcass, tails dragging. Anyway, it's amazing working at this site because everywhere you look, the ground is covered in dinosaur tracks. The track site boasts several worldwide records, including the greatest number of exposed dinosaur tracks, around 16,600, theropod tracks, tail traces, and swim tracks preserved in track roads. Yeah, that is a bit of a question. Why are their tails dragging? This site is a stunning window into the area's past, not just how many dinosaurs were moving through this area, but also what they were doing as they moved through. Okay, so that's it with that. Um, that's good to see, but this is a huge mystery. We also don't know specifically, well, we haven't seen really all of the footprints, um, or, like, how large is the area that this was found? Is it just this specific area here?
Yeah, that can't be it. That'd be a lot of footprints for that small area. It'd
I
be overlapping.
Yeah, I could see it, probably if they were extremely small dinosaurs, small theropods, herbivores, but a larger species, it would need to be over much greater expanse of land. Well, let's head over to the next article. So from cyphericraft.org, insights into the illegal ivory trade and status of elephants in Togo, West Africa. So this is adjacent to, I believe, Benin, Ghana, just west of Nigeria. Hold
I
on.
read elephant toads before I looked at it closer.
Huh, yeah. In Togo, the illegal trade of African elephants, Buckstone africana, ivory is widespread despite efforts made by the government to curtail these activities. Aren't many elephants within this region. Maybe a few thousand. By using data gathered from sites, institutions, and natural resource management authorities in the country, we investigated the extent of ivory trafficking in Togo. Also, it's likely that there are forest elephants, so the smaller species of African elephant in this region, and not the larger bush or savanna elephants. We also conducted surveys in villages around protected areas, which still contain elephant populations, to assess the species' current status in the country. Our surveys indirectly uh, corroborated corroborated? Hmm. There are probably no more than 150 elephants collectively within the country's protected areas. Most of them, oh, whoa! Was I thinking of Nigeria or something? That's it. Now the question is, are these now, it's not a large country, I don't know the approximate square mileage, but, uh, how are the elephants also staying outside the protected areas? But when it comes to different places within Africa, it tends to be where the healthier populations of animals are within those protected areas because there's usually less poaching too, as well as certain restoration of habitat. But okay, I was wrong on that. That is bad. And this was back in 2020. Still, sheesh. Most of them in the Fazua Mofakasa National Park. We also estimated that a minimum of 41.65 tons of ivory, elephant tusks, and carved objects was intercepted in Togo between 2008 and 2018. Well, the question is that coming from that can't be coming from just Togo, that has to be coming from other parts of Africa because with larger, elephant populations, let's say it is forced elephants, ivory, I would think it would be coming from the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. There's also the, what's that other Congo country? It's south, of the area, it's south of Cameroon. But here, even in all of, I would think Western Sub-Saharan Africa, that's west of, like, Central African Republic and the Democratic, Republic of the Congo, I don't think the elephant population of the area can even create that. Anyway, that's on the bright side. Despite the fact that presently illegal elephant hunting is unlikely in Togo, we show that this country is the entry point for ivory from Central Africa, Cameroon, and Gabon. Gabon. Let's see. We maintain that Togo's position as an intermediary country in the illegal ivory trade is a tangible threat to elephants throughout their range countries, tangible, and is also likely to affect the dwindling population of these animals in the country if adequate enforcement is not well, it's, good to see the amount of, ivory that's was harvested, that's, quite interesting. I never understood the burning of the ivory. I First of all, it smells horrible, but, I just didn't understand it. I mean, you already have it. I mean, use it. Just my opinion. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Okay, from Sci News. 2 species of Coelurosauurs coexisted in Cretaceous-era Brazil. Paleontologists have performed a comprehensive anatomical reassessment of the fossilized remains of 2 Silurian theropod dinosaurs from the early Cretaceous of South America. This is good to
What's a
see.
Coelurosaurus?
So, Coelurosaur, this is actually a large group of theropods from the Mesozoic. And you have different species such as the dromaeosaurs or the raptors, which are part of this. So, Velociraptors, Coelurosaur, the megaraptors like Nape are as well, Australorpinator from Australia, Nape from South America, and even the different small species of Microraptor, dromaeosaurs. Birds are technically Coelurosaurs, and so Archaeopteryx as well. And then animals like T. rex or the Tyrannosaur lineage are also Coelurosaurs. Possibly also Ornitholestes too from the Jurassic. So it's good to hear with these theropods. Xanthanoraptor, Placidus, and Mauritia asymmetrica. I was gonna say those are not theropods. Ooh, that's a nice picture.
Somebody's not doing well.
Yeah, hopefully he's already dead. So a hypothetical reconstruction of Mauritia asymmetrica and Xanthanoraptor placidus disputing a lizard in what is now northeastern Brazil approximately 112 million years ago. So this is towards the late early Cretaceous period over in Brazil. Wide range of different species of
Did
sauropods.
you say the late early Cretaceous period?
Yeah. So the early Cretaceous period was between 100 million years ago to 145 million years ago. This would be during the last 12 million years of the early part of the Cretaceous period,
Oh, okay. I was confused.
or the lower end of the Cretaceous. Upper end would be late Cretaceous. So, let's see. The holotypes of these Coelurosaur species were discovered in the Romaldo Formation. Oh, yeah. In 1996 and 2000. The Ramaldo Formation is a world-famous early Cretaceous fossil conservant lygosaute that crops out along the margins of the Araripe Plateau in northwestern Brazil. Its macrofossil record includes one of the most diverse and well-preserved ichthyofaunas of the Mesozoic, as well as plants, invertebrates, turtles, crocodilians, pterosaurs, and theropod dinosaurs. So it seems to be marine deposits where they have discovered these theropod fossils, and that's why they're depicting them on a beach, um, like a lizard. Spinosaurs are arguably the best known Romaldo theropods. That is a group of dinosaurs that's often forgotten about or pushed to the side when it comes to South America, despite, especially in the past. I say ever since Jurassic Park 3, and they've just exploded in popularity. So back in 2001, with the Spinosaurs, and you had different species like Irritator roaming the different areas of South America during the early Cretaceous. At a small scale compared to its, Spinosaur relatives over in Africa, but it had an elongated vertebrae, unlike its English or, UK cousin Baryonyx. So let's see, with many referred specimens, including the well-preserved skull of Irritator, Challenger, and the snout of Angatorama lemmi. Among Coelurosaurs, Spinosaurs, however, are not Coelurosaurs, they're Carnosaurs, like dinosaurs. Among Coelurosaurs, Santanoramphus placidus and Mauritia asymmetrica come from the same deposits that yielded the Spinosaurs. Ooh, whoa, okay, so it's possible they did coexist with them. That is the better known upper carbonate concretion levels of the Romualdo Formation. So the question is, like, are they coming from the exact same time realm of, like, Irritator and, Ingatorama, or is it a few million year, lapse? In the new research, Dr. Del Corte and his co-authors from Brazil, Argentina, and Germany revised and compare the anatomy of Centenoraptor placidus or Scia symmetrica with the goal of investigating their phylogenetic affinities and possible synonymy. Their analysis places both species in a group of early branching Interraptoromorph dinosaurs, along with Urotyrant Langhemi and Tanniclogarus topsoni, the late Jurassic of Laurasia. There are certain instances where dinosaurs that lived very far apart in time will actually be placed quite closely related to each other, um, in a certain family. So, like with this instance, the Maniraptor believe her tyrant is an early species of Tyrannosaur from the late Jurassic, so a little over 156 million years ago. So, going suggesting an early diversification of Coelurosaurs in the area. Despite the minor overlapping of skeletal elements, they have anatomical differences that support their recognition as distinct species. The clade containing Herotyrant Lehami, Archaea, Tenacloragrius, and Santanoraptor appears to trace back at least to the late Jurassic of Laurasia, prior to the opening of the Apulian route, which allowed faunal exchange during the early Cretaceous. Guessing this certain land bridge that occurred, and faunal was referring to the different dinosaurs that would migrate through this area. In fact, several Coelurosaur groups occur in both Laurasia and Gondwana at the time, including Megaraptora, as well as branches of Ornithomimosauridae, Megaraptora referring to the large megaraptors, Ornithomimosaurs referring to the ostrich-like dinosaurs Gallimimus, Ornithomimus, the Alvarezsauridae. These are close relatives of the Therizinosaurs, so like Alvarezsaurus, and Dromaeosauridae, raptors like Deinonychus, Velociraptor. Our phylogenetic proposal better matches the available biogeographical data than those nesting the Romaldo Coelurosaurs, the mostly Laurasian Compsognathidae, so animals such as Compsognathus, and Tyrannosauroideae, animals such as T-rex, Spinosaurus. Yet further research, including more extensive fieldwork, is needed to untangle the early radiation of Coelurosaurs, including the affinity of the Romaldo forms. This is really good to see with these, 2 new species of Coelurosaur and as well their connection to other theropods, much earlier in time. I mean, it's mentioned the late Jurassic.
This is one of the most in-depth sci news ones you've gone over.
Yeah, it was really good to see. Um, Many of them, they are a bit bland. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so from the BBC. Oh, barn owls beat odds to raise chick at reserve. He's like, "Yes, we did it." One of the adult birds was first spotted at the nest box in March. Barn owls have overcome a challenging summer to breed at a nest box installed at a nature reserve in Dorset. Guessing this is well, this is over in Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Bull Council said the birds were first spotted at the box at Hengistbury Head in March. The council said despite a challenging year due to dry weather conditions, the pair beat the odds to successfully raise a single chick. That's good for barn owls. Environment Councillor Andy Hadley said it was a real sign that our efforts to restore habitats and support biodiversity are working.
Is he counseling the owls?
I'm wondering. ACP said confirmation that the pair of owls had made the box their home was a significant milestone for local wildlife. As good as this is for the barn owls, it's kind of sad that we're not seeing any other, at least wherever this is occurring, increased wildlife reproduction. A licensed expert weighed and ringed the chick, which was discovered in July, and it was monitored by camera until it fledged. Dorset Council and BCP have co-created a nature recovery strategy, setting out 13 priorities, including creating wildlife corridors, restoring grasslands, and improving rivers and wetlands. Mississippi countryside area manager Robin Harley said barn owls are a priority species in the Dorset local nature recovery strategy, so it's great to see them doing well in a new location. In July, Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Poole were declared the UK's first official nature towns. What is this supposed to mean? Do they talk too? Recognizing the council's commitment to integrating nature into urban life. Not seeing chipmunks? Oh, okay. Well, that's it with that one. Okay, we're proud of you. Okay, let's see. From Sci News, 55 million-year-old crocodile eggshells found in Australia. Okay, problem. Crocodiles, true crocodiles, first evolved around 30 million years ago. So this is which was back at the Oligocene epoch. This is mentioning 55 million years ago, which was the late Paleocene epoch. True crocodiles have not evolved yet. There were quite different species of crocodilomorphs. Generally, caimans had already evolved. Um, even members of the alligator family, caimans, but not true crocodiles. So named, I'm guessing there's some species of crocodile, maybe a terrestrial species, named Wacholithus godfelpi. This eggshell type belonged to a Mecosukine crocodile and represents the oldest crocodilian eggshells ever found in Australia. Yeah. He looks a bit more like a member of Alligator toridae, but it's likely it's
They've
another,
used him before.
Pseudotsuchian. Wonder if it's gonna mention, okay, so it's just showing that they're the sign, couple of mecosine species, just not naming their genre and species names. The now extinct Mecosukines or Mecosukini family are Australia's own unique local branch of the crocodile family. These creatures dominated inland waters of the continent 55 million years ago, early Eocene epoch, yeah, late Paleocene. They were part of the group of species that includes alligators, true crocodiles, garrels, and caiman, but Mecosukines represent a much older branch than the saltwater freshwater crocs found in Australia today. Probably because the saltwater crocodile has only been around for 2 million years, like towards the beginning of Pleistocene or the Ice Age is when it popped up. There are freshwater crocs. I think they've been around at least for a few 100,000 years, but they're very recent. Modern species made their way to the continent much later as it came into contact with Southeast Asia about 5 million years ago. So this was during the uh, early Pliocene epoch. And when it comes to Nile crocodiles over in Africa, they have been around, I believe, for around 3 million years. Unlike today's crocodiles, Microsukines filled strange ecological niches. It's a bizarre idea, but some of them appear to have been terrestrial hunters and forests. This isn't surprising, especially back then. You know, wide range of different species of terrestrial crocodilomorphs that were hunting most large mammal species, and then some that were probably feeding on maybe smaller rodents, and then different species of insects, other amphibians and reptiles. Some heavily built, some um, very narrow and thin in body structure. So there are suggestions of this throughout a wide range of younger Mecosukine fossils that were discovered earlier within 25 million-year-old deposits from another region. Rivers Lie World Heritage Area, Hamula National Park, and Waianae Country in northwestern Queensland. So it's over in northeastern Australia. Some riverine species that grew to at least 5 meters long, that's pushing 20 feet. And some were also apparently at least partly semi-arboreal. Yeah, these guys that drop rocks. Oh, I get it, like koalas drop hairs, except these guys literally wanted to, um, eat you. But, I mean, obviously, they're probably feeding on smaller species of mammals. They were perhaps hunting like leopards, dropping out of trees on any unsuspecting thing they fancied for dinner. The Wacholothulis godfelpi eggshells belong to the oldest known member of the Mecosukini clade. These eggshells have given us a glimpse of the intimate life history of Mecosukines. We can now investigate not only the strange anatomy of these crocs, but also how they reproduced and adapted to changing environments. Researchers examined the Waghothulus delphi shell fragments under optical and electron microscopes. Their microstructure suggests that crocs laid eggs on the margins of the lake, with their reproductive strategy adapting to fluctuating conditions. Interesting. So we can actually have a bit of a glimpse as to how these crocodilomorphs were nesting in this area of Queensland. Mekosuka and crocs may have lost much of their inland territory because of encroaching dry land, eventually having to compete in the shrinking waterways not only with new arrivals to Australia, but dwindling numbers of their megafaunal sized prey as well. I'm guessing probably other species of reptile that might have been migrating to the area and other species of mammal. Considering, I'm thinking of like Pliocene and early Pleistocene. It was somewhere between 1.4 to 5 million years ago, or 55 million years ago. Still, I'm guessing probably the same thing. Um, and then probably changing climate as well. That was definitely occurring in the late Paleocene to Eocene epoch, or 55 million years ago, but much more impactful once you start heading to the late Eocene. So somewhere between 35 to 39 million years ago. The Mergin Lake was surrounded by a lush forest, which was also home to the world's oldest known songbirds, Australia's earliest frogs and snakes, a wide range of small mammals with South American lynx, as well as one of the world's oldest known bats. There are actually a wide range of different species of bats even today in Australia. Many just tend to think of marsupials, and then the dingo might pop in their mind, but there are also other placental mammals, such as bats, that exist in Australia. According to the team, fossil eggshells are an underused resource in vertebrate paleontology. They preserve microstructural and geochemical signals that tell us not only what kind of animals laid them, but also where they nested and how they bred. Our study shows just how powerful these fragments can be. Eggshells should be a routine, standard component of paleontological research, collected, curated, and analyzed alongside bones and teeth. Um, yeah, I would say a bit more recently, fossilized, at least embryos of different preserved prehistoric animals have been or they've been, discovered a lot more often, at least somewhat. I think in different parts of China and possibly South America.
Is that because they've stopped thinking they're looking at rocks?
That's a probable theory. Another thing is that probably certain areas that probably ignored, like they were recognized as nesting sites, especially like the oviraptorid theropods over in China, where they had been preserved, covering their nests, they had several eggs amongst them. But there hasn't been a lot of, I think, research done on those fossilized eggs, at least what I've seen, which is odd. I mean, they're not necessarily rare for the animal in the region. So, why not take a look into those? I explain to um, maybe give a better in depth to what the ecosystem is like. So, hope you enjoyed this stream. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Love talking about animals, and share this show with